Are you looking for the best smartphones? In this video, we will look at some of 5 best smartphones on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description. So make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. Google Pixel 8a. Google's Pixel 8a, 8 out of 10, Wired recommends, is the best smartphone you can buy for the money. At just $499, you get a little of everything from wireless charging to top-of-the-line performance. It's powered by Google's Tensor G3 processor, the same that's inside the flagship Pixel 8 series, and that also means this mid-range smartphone will get 7 years of software support, a rarity at this price. That means you can expect to get Android OS upgrades with new features plus security patches for a long time. This Pixel has a better OLED screen than its predecessor, meaning it gets even brighter and plenty visible on the sunniest days, and the 120Hz screen refresh rate makes every interaction feel fluid. The 6.1-inch screen is fairly compact, so it's great if you're eyeing a small phone. The whole thing also just looks pretty budget, and mid-range phones tend to look super boring, but the Pixel 8a has a smart design with a matte rear texture. Plus, the new aloe color is gorgeous. Phones are personal, and they should look pretty. Performance has been flawless in my testing. I covered Google I/O with this as my primary device, taking photos, navigating, using the Google Recorder app, and posting to social media. The downside is battery life. The 4,492 mAh battery cell can last a day with average use, but heavy users will likely need to top up before bedtime. Keep a portable power bank handy. The cameras are the highlight of the Pixel series, and the Pixel 8a lives up to this legacy. It's easily the best camera phone for the money. It has a 64-megapixel main camera that snaps detailed, colorful, and sharp photos in any lighting condition. Joining it is a capable 13MP ultra-wide, and the 13MP selfie camera is solid, though the fact that it's fixed focus means your face is never perfectly sharp. The only issue I've run into is that Real Tone, which is Google's image processing algorithm for different skin tones, hasn't been as accurate as on prior Pixels, specifically on brown skin. Google says it's looking into it. But the top reason why I heartily recommend Pixel phones is because of the smart software features you won't find on any other sub-$500 smartphone. I've detailed many of them here, but you can use Magic Editor to move a subject a little to the left of the frame and erase an unwanted object in the shot. You can use Best Take to fix that group shot where your eyes were closed. Google's call screen technology nips spam calls in the bud, and assistant voice typing is still my favorite voice-to-text system, and I miss it every time I switch phones. Other perks include Secure Face Unlock and Fingerprint Unlock. Both work with sensitive apps that require biometric authentication, so you have more unlocking options. There's also NFC for contactless payments and an IP67 rating that protects it from the elements. Number 2. Nothing Phone 2a and Phone 2a Plus. I deeply wish you could walk into any major retailer or carrier in the US and buy Nothing's Phone 2a, 9 out of 10, Wired recommends, because this stylish budget phone deserves to be in your pocket. Alas, while it's easy to purchase globally, you'll need to sign up for Nothing's developer program if you're in the US. Once you're accepted, even if you're not a developer, you'll be sent a purchase link to buy the phone. That also applies to the more recent Phone 2a Plus, which costs $399 and is nearly identical. These are the most attractive phones under $400, aided by the fun Glyph LED light system on the back. These lights flash when notifications come in, or you can set a timer and visualize it winding down. You can customize how it works. The attention to design detail translates into the software, which looks unique and is just plain fun to use. Rare qualities in a cheapo device. Barring design, the Phone 2a and 2a Plus have 6.7-inch AMOLED screens with 120Hz screen refresh rates. They're wonderfully smooth, sharp, and bright. The 5,000 mAh battery cells are big enough to last more than a full day of use. With average use, I hit 2 full days. Performance has been completely problem-free for me, but this is where you'll have to choose between the Phone 2a and 2a Plus. The cheaper model has the MediaTek Dimensity 7200 Pro chipset, whereas the Plus has the Dimensity 7350 Pro 5G, which offers a minor boost, specifically in graphics. Both rarely stuttered for me, even when I juggled multiple apps. I used the 2a while covering a large trade show in another country, and it gave me no trouble. But if you're planning on gaming a lot, the Plus model has an edge. Number 3. Motorola Moto G Power 5G. Motorola's Moto G Power 5G 2024, 8/10, Wired recommends, looks and performs better than its sub-$300 price suggests. It has a lovely textured vegan leather back that feels more luxe than the usual plastic on budget phones. The 6.7-inch LCD screen is large and sharp and has a 120Hz screen refresh rate, and I didn't find its peak brightness lacking on sunny days. Inside is MediaTek's Dimensity 7020 chipset with 8GB of RAM, and while you'll see some stutters here and there, operating the phone is fairly smooth. I used it for almost a month and found it overall snappy and more than adequate. As for the battery, this slim phone has a 5000 mAh cell, and it generally got through a full day of average use, with some extra for the next day. Surprisingly, there's wireless charging support, which is incredibly rare at this price, and I like the convenience of not having to fish for a cable. There's also NFC support, which means you can make contactless payments. Motorola was notorious for blocking NFC on its Moto G phones for years in the US, but that's no longer the case with this model. You might also be happy that the Moto G Power has a headphone jack, and it runs the latest version of Android 14. The cameras are nothing to write home about, but you can snap adequate photos with this handset, even in low light. But the biggest flaw is Motorola's software policy. The Moto G Power 5G 2024 will receive just one Android OS upgrade and 3 years of security updates. That means when it gets Android 15 later this year, or early in 2025, that's it. At least it'll stay patched up from security flaws for some time. Oh, and there's a lot of pre-installed bloatware on this phone. You can thankfully uninstall or disable a lot of it. Number 4. CMF Phone 1. I very nearly gave the CMF Phone 1, 9 out of 10, Wired recommends, the top spot in this guide, because it has almost everything you'd need in a phone for a shockingly low price of $239. Unfortunately, there are 2 barriers to accessibility. First, this phone is only available in the US via a beta, like the Nothing Phone 2A. CMF is a sub-brand of Nothing. That means you have to sign up for the beta, and once you've been accepted, you can purchase the device. The second barrier is that network coverage isn't rosy. It works best on T-Mobile, but you may have some spotty 5G coverage here and there. AT&T works, and while CMF says 5G isn't supported on the carrier, I had no trouble accessing 4G and 5G here in New York City. The company doesn't recommend using it on Verizon at all. If you don't mind the beta process and are on T-Mobile or AT&T, I highly recommend you give the CMF Phone 1 a shot. This is the prettiest phone you'll find for around $200, and there's a fun system that lets you attach various accessories via the accessory point, the circular screw on the bottom edge, like a kickstand, lanyard, or wallet. This system is fun, but hardly the main thing that makes this handset so good. No, that'd be the performance. The MediaTek Dimensity 7300 chipset with 8GB of RAM delivers ultra-smooth performance. I rarely saw any slowdowns or lag in my testing. It's the best performing phone for the money and even outperforms pricier devices. Battery life is also impressive, with a 5000 mAh cell that often got me to 2 days of average use, and heavy users should still manage to end a day with around 30% left in the tank. And the display. It's a full HD 6.67-inch AMOLED screen with a 120Hz refresh rate, and while it could stand to get a smidge brighter on super sunny days, it was more than fine most of the time. The camera system is hard to beat at this price, and CMF promises 2 OS upgrades and 3 years of security updates. I wish it had NFC to make contactless payments. I use it a lot here in New York City, but it's not a huge deal, as I carry my wallet everywhere. It also is rated at IP52 water resistance, so don't let it get submerged in water. Rain is okay. If these flaws won't bug you and your budget is tight, this is a remarkable smartphone at a remarkable price. Number 5. Motorola Razr. The Razr, 2023, 7/10, Wired recommends, has finally dipped as low as $350, and frankly, that's an amazing price for a folding phone. You don't get a large external screen on this model. The small display here is only usable to check the time, a few notifications, and the weather. The hinge mechanism also doesn't feel as nice to flip open and shut. It's a bit loud. But you still get a perfectly functioning 6.9-inch smartphone when it's fully opened up, with an OLED 144Hz panel and great performance with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 7 Gen 1 chipset. Close it up, and this phone will fit in almost any pocket. It's super tiny. There's a 4,200 mAh battery here that will get through a day with average use, but heavy users will want to bring a power bank along. At least you get amenities like wireless charging and NFC for contactless payments. Just know that the cameras are lackluster, and Motorola will only dish out 2 more OS upgrades to Android 16 and 3 more years of security updates.